Hey everyone, Mark here at Lowen University. Welcome to lesson 51. In this lesson we're going to talk about the sweeping technique for bass, which is strictly derived from sweep picking on guitar. Guitar players are using a pick, and we're just replacing the pick with the thumb. So lots of new challenges arise. This is an extremely advanced technique that's extremely tough to do. It's not something I use really that too often. It's more of just a for fun, novelty technique. I've used it at slower speeds before in music I've written, which can be very, very effective, simply just to play something you would not be able to do finger style just because of the spacing of the notes. We'll get into all that shortly. I'm just playing a C major arpeggio here using all 4 strings. If you do have a 6-string bass out there or anything like that, you can take this entire pattern I'm using and move it all down 1 string to the higher strings and use this in more of a solo, virtuosic manner if you'd like. But this pattern can be used anywhere on the bass, just like a major scale pattern. So yeah, here we go. So basically what we're doing here is we're just kind of using the thumb and letting the weight of the thumb fall down and hit each note. And sweeping is basically arpeggiating a chord, but using as many strings as possible, for lack of a better explanation. It's kind of using 1 note per string. This pattern, some of the strings have 2 notes and one has 5 notes, the top string. But overall, sweeping is known for just going up and down each string, 1 note per string, and making that a very fluid motion. And the biggest trick, obviously, is being able to synchronize both hands. It's really fast, and that's the challenge that everyone faces doing this. So let's just start off muting the strings here on the fretting hand. I want you to practice just taking the left side of your thumb, and just think of your thumb like a guitar pick. That's exactly what we're doing. And just kind of start on the E string, and just kind of let the weight of your hand carry your thumb down and make sure you're plucking each string kind of consistently. Dig-a-dig-a, dig-a-dig-a. And just keep going until you can get them pretty consistent. That's kind of what you're doing. And don't press too hard. You don't want to put too much force in. I'm just kind of letting, like I said, the weight of my hand just kind of drop it. And I'm pretty relaxed when doing it. Okay, and the very next thing you're going to do is tap that top note. So we have a high C here on fret 17 on the G string. And as soon as you get done going through and plucking the G string, after a few notes later, I guess this is 8th notes written out in the tab, but it's pretty fast. So you can do this at whatever tempo you'd like, but the top note is going to be this fret 17. So practice going down with the thumb and then tapping that note. So let's add 1 step. It's kind of tough to get. I can't even get it every time. Okay, right after that you want to pull off that string, and you want to pull off the string going this way because you're going to use that same finger and rake back down all the strings. So all in all, you're basically just going down, back up. Down with the thumb, back up with the middle finger. And I always suggest using the middle finger to tap. That's my personal preference. It's the longest finger. It's in the center of your hand. If the index works better for you, by all means use that. So what I suggest you do is try to do this. Try to keep your thumb maybe over fret 19 or 20. You know, if you just kind of place your finger on the fret you're about to tap, wherever your thumb would naturally sit, right here on this part of the neck, that's where you kind of want to do the brushing motion over. And when you pull off, you have to wait for the left hand to finish the rest of the pattern, because all in all it goes. So you don't want to just pull off that note and go straight down and pluck the rest of them, because you're going to get ahead of yourself. And that is the biggest challenge with this technique, or this specific pattern actually, is the fact that the first string has 2 notes and the top string has 5 notes. You have to time those notes on the plucking hand exactly so it stays in sync the whole time. So you have to wait. And what I do to wait is I kind of pull off and just hang my finger here on the D string. So and when I'm ready to come back down, go back up. Okay, so the notes we're putting in here, like I said, is all in C major, roots, fifths, and thirds. Let's go to the first string and start there. So frets 8 to 12, pluck with the thumb, and just you got to wait, because we have a hammer on with the pinky. So index, pinky. And I also want to say that this thumb motion, when you come back down, you want to think of it like the plucking through technique for normal plucking hand style. When you pluck a note, you land on the string behind it, right? So with the thumb, think of the same thing. That allows you to kind of feel where you're at in the strings and kind of feel where the next string is, and it just better helps you to time it and keep it consistent going up and down. So plucked 8 to 12, pluck 8, hammer on 12, frets 10 on both the A and D strings. And the trick to doing this is you have to think of, I have to fret 2 frets or 2 strings on the same fret with the same finger. So you kind of want to fret 10 on the A string with the tip of your middle finger, and then use kind of the bottom part of your joint for fret 10 on the D string. You want to practice rolling them. And on a 4-string bass, the string spacing is wider. This is a lot easier on guitar, so we're making it really tough doing this type of thing on bass. Go down and pluck the G string on fret 9 on that E, hammer on 12, and then tap fret 17 with the middle, pull off, wait, and go back down the same way you came up. Now here's the thing with that bar and rolling finger, when you come back down, you have to remember that I fretted fret 10 on the D string with the bottom part of the joint here. That way I can use the tip of the finger to get fret 10 on the A string. So you don't want to come back down like this and just do your fingertip on the D string, because then you have nothing to go on the A string. You basically screwed yourself. So you got to remember that. Come back down the same way as you went up. So all in all, now here's the trickiest part about it overall, and probably the hardest thing about this that I'm still working on, is being able to get this cleanly with the muting. And guitar players, simply put, have it easier. And like I said, this is not a bass technique, so I can't really complain, but they have the ability to palm mute. You can just place your palm down here on the bridge and make sure the notes are dampened just enough to where you have that singularity in all the notes. We don't have that because we're taking everything away from this part of the bass and we're all over here. So the only way to do it is to kind of use this side of your arm, underside of your wrist, to kind of follow along as you go up and kind of mute the string. So this is basically like the palm. So instead of palm muting, it'd be like forearm muting, I don't know. So if you watch closely, the second I'm done playing this first E string, this underside of my wrist jumps down and touches the E string. It's very subtle. If you look at the right-hand camera, you can kind of see it down there. But already right here, the E string is muted because I'm done with it. And once you go past the A string, these 2 strings are both muted now. And all I'm doing is, having my forearm just kind of roll over the strings. Toughest thing about this is timing. You don't want to roll too fast because then you get ahead of yourself and your notes just all get cut off. So the toughest thing is not alone just syncing 2 hands to do the sweeping, but to add this third part in for the muting. So really a lifelong challenge here. I love working on these, and there's always a challenge no matter how good you think you have it. And once you get to the top, you can just kind of come back down, and the finger will kind of mute naturally doing the plucking through technique. Because when you come back down, the left hand is kind of catching those old strings. So this is kind of just an on the way up thing, but use that underside of the wrist and mute that way. All right, have fun with this. Don't get discouraged. I've been working on these since I started, and I still want to improve on them a lot, mainly in the muting department. So this is the biggest challenge. So what I would do is just try to work on getting the notes down first, or just get a hair scrunchie, hair tie or whatever, and put it here on the strings and kind of get that out of the way, because hearing those notes ringing out will really discourage you. And just worry about getting the notes clean with like a hair tie or something on there now. And then you can take that off and then add the muting in later once you have the comfortable notion and motion of doing the patterns, okay? Follow along in the lesson PDF. Every finger is notated exactly how I'm playing it. And when you see like a P, that's referring to the thumb, I, index, M, middle, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 referring to the left hand, and of course you have the tapped and hammer on all notated as well. So follow along specifically. That's exactly how I'm playing the pattern. And feel this in triplets. It just goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So and a great way to remember it is that the beginning of every 3 notes is going to be a C. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So your landmark notes can basically be here, 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 and back down. So if you do this with a metronome, every time the metronome hits, it's going to be C. C, 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 C. So a good way to practice them. Have fun, and we will see you next lesson.